right, class, today we're going to talk about scientific notation, which should be a review from math class. And scientific notation is very helpful in chemistry because we often have to refer to the number of atoms in a sample, which would be a really big number, or to the mass of, let's say, an atom, which will be a very small number. One number that we use quite frequently is called Avogadro's number, and that is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power, which you'll appreciate not having to write all of those zeros at once. The proper form for scientific notation is when you only have one digit to the left of the decimal point. So if we're talking about our digit and calling it x, x we're saying then would be greater than or equal to 1, but it has to be less than 10. Meaning it can be 1, but it can't be 10. It can be 9.99999, but once it reaches 10, you have to move the decimal one more spot to make it 1. When we move our decimal, sometimes, or all the time when we move our decimal, we have to change the value of our exponent. So I put a number line in there for you to help you understand the direction that your exponent would be moving. A good way to remember is if your decimal is being moved to the left, your exponent gets larger. If the decimal is moving to the right, your exponent gets reduced. And so we're going to look at some examples here. First example, when the exponent is positive. So what we're going to do is move the decimal to the right. The reason is because when we write normal numbers, it's like saying an exponent of 0. So we're taking our exponent, which is 4, which is this number 4, and we need to turn it into a 0. That means we are reducing our exponent. And according to up above, if we reduce our exponent, we have to move it to the right. And when we move it to the right, we're going to move it 4 spots because 4 to 0 would be 4 spots. So when we start with our 7, our 3, and our 4, we then have the decimal moving 2 spots with the 3 and the 4, so we only need to add 2 more zeros to get a full 4-spot movement. So the final answer is 73,400. When the exponent is negative, we're going to move it to the left, and this would make sense in this example. We're going from an exponent of negative 6 and turning it into a 0, which means it's getting larger. And according to our rule up here, left is what we would move it. So if we have 812, and we move it to the left 6 spots, the 8 takes up 1, so there's 3, 4, 5, 6. So we end up with 0.000000812 because we needed to add zeros in this spot. Now, positive exponents, again, we're thinking large numbers. Negative exponents, again, we're thinking are going to get turned into small numbers. So in this example, again, 9 is, we need to turn into an exponent of 0. So we're going to move our decimal point 9 to the right. Why? Because we're reducing by 9. 9 to the right would mean 5, 4, 2, and then 7 zeros. Why only 7 zeros and not 9? Because again, the 4 and the 2 take up 2 place values. In the next example, negative 7, we're turning into 0. So we're going to make this 7 to the left. So 7 to the left would mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros, and then the 3. Because again, the 3 is going to take 1 spot up in our movement. So if you are starting with the number greater than 1, understand the exponent's going to be positive. So now we're going the other way. Instead of starting with scientific, we're going to start with what we call standard notation. And in this case, standard notation is like having an exponent of 0. And we are moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Remember, I have to go all the way until my number is between 1 and 10. So that means 6.87. And I believe I moved it 16 spots, and I moved 16 spots to the left and back again. Left means larger, so that means 10 to the 16th power. In the next example, I'm starting with number less than 1. I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to make my beginning number between 1 and 10. And I went 6 to the right, so I'm going to reduce my exponent, which started off as 0. If I reduce it by 6, it becomes negative 6. All right, we will work with using your calculators another day, but if you ever want to mess with your calculator beforehand, you have a couple buttons, which are the SCI buttons, or if you have a TI 2, it says Sci and ENG at the top. You can mess with those and see if you can get it to put it into scientific notation. All right, we'll see you later.